A 9-year-old girl broke down in tears at an auction, unable to part with her pet goat, Cedar. She'd raised him through a youth program and grown to love him like family. Even though Cedar was sold for $900, the girl's mom, Jessica Long, helped legally withdraw him. The buyer even agreed, but auction reps refused to let Cedar go and began threatening grand theft charges. Things escalated when police got involved. Officers traveled 500 miles to see Cedar, but discovered he'd been moved. Without a warrant for the new location, they illegally took him from the second farm. To the family's horror, Cedar was soon slaughtered. Jessica and her daughter later sued, winning $300,000, but they say no amount of money can replace Cedar or undo the trauma caused by the incident. One day in 1907, a mom had a strange feeling her 23-year-old son, Jesus Garcia, was going to die. Though he was perfectly healthy, she couldn't shake the feeling. The next day, Jesus, a railroad engineer, discovered a fire on his train. A spark had ignited the hay car. Worse, the train carried 70 boxes of dynamite, enough to obliterate the entire town of Nacazari. As the crew tried to extinguish the flames, Jesus realized it was hopeless. Instead of fleeing, he ordered his crew to escape and jumped onto the burning train. Driving in reverse to get the train away from town, Jesus faced a steep hill, knowing someone had to stay to keep pressure on the throttle. After nearly 4 miles, the train exploded. His heroic sacrifice saved thousands of lives. Today, the town honors him by the name Nacazari de Garcia, remembering the man who gave his life to protect them. One day, William Hayes walked into a dealership to buy 2 luxury cars worth $160,000. Everyone seemed thrilled, congratulating him as he signed the paperwork and received his keys. But just as William was grinning ear to ear, police officers appeared out of nowhere and arrested him. Turns out, William had stolen a dead person's ID to make the purchase. The dealership employees knew all along. When they scanned his license, they saw it belonged to someone deceased. Instead of confronting him, they called the cops and decided to have some fun, pretending to be fooled. After letting him finish the process, the cops swooped in, arresting William to the tune of celebration. Now he's facing up to 12 years in prison for identity theft and fraud. When 6-year-old Emily Heaton told her dad she wanted to be a princess, Jeremiah Heaton took her dream to the next level. Instead of buying her a costume, he discovered an unclaimed patch of desert called Bir Tawil between Egypt and Sudan. With permission from Egypt, Jeremiah trekked across the barren land and on Emily's 7th birthday, planted a flag she had designed, declaring himself king and her a princess. Jeremiah envisioned turning their kingdom, North Sudan, into a garden to fight hunger in Africa. But his act faced backlash, with critics accusing him of promoting white colonialism. Experts also stated he needed UN approval, not just a flag. Jeremiah launched a fundraiser for recognition, raising only $11,000. And a Disney movie about his story was scrapped. Despite renting a DC office as an embassy, North Sudan was never officially acknowledged. Yet Jeremiah's story remains a testament to the lengths a dad will go for his daughter's dream. One day, millionaire Harris Rosen discovered Tangelo Park, a neighborhood plagued by violence and drugs just 20 minutes from Disney World. Instead of turning away, Harris decided to adopt the entire community. Having grown up in poverty himself, Harris poured his wealth into transforming lives. He made daycare free for all and offered full-ride college scholarships to every high school graduate. Over 21 years, he spent more than $11 million personally overseeing these programs. The results were astounding. Crime rates were cut in half, and the high school graduation rate soared from 25% to nearly 100%. Today, Harris still donates every year and vows to keep going until Tangelo Park becomes a gated community. When 6-year-old Robbie Spidell, a cancer patient, made his Make-A-Wish request, it wasn't for a vacation or meeting a celebrity. All he wanted was to run an ice cream truck in his neighborhood for a day. Make-A-Wish hired an ice cream man to help, but when customers started paying, Robbie stopped him. Buying ice cream brought Robbie joy, but he knew not every family could afford it. His wish was to give ice cream away for free to make others happy. Moved by his kindness, Make-A-Wish arranged for all the ice cream to be free. Robbie spent the day handing out treats, brightening the lives of kids and adults alike. And in an amazing turn of events, Robbie later made a full recovery from his cancer. In the 1950s, Burma Shave ran a bizarre promotion. Send in 900 empty jars of their shaving cream, and they'd send you on a free trip to Mars. It was meant as a joke. They figured no one would even try. But they didn't count on Frenchie, a supermarket manager with a love for challenges. Frenchie launched a full-page ad reading, "Send Frenchie to Mars," offering 15 cents per jar. Soon, jars started pouring in. Despite playful attempts by Burma Shave to stop him, Frenchie hit the 900-jar mark. Panicked, the company had to honor their promise. Instead of sending him to space, they dressed him in an astronaut costume and flew him to a small town in Pennsylvania called Mars. Burma Shave learned the hard way: never underestimate a determined prankster. Recently, a 44-year-old man in Russia landed a job as a sales manager at an electronics store. On paper, he seemed perfect for the role, but his real plan shocked everyone. On his very first day, he arrived early, unlocked the store with his new keys, and tried to disable the security camera using a mop. When that didn't work, he ignored the camera entirely and began stuffing bags in a suitcase with 53 iPhones and $570 from the register. His boldness didn't stop there. He made no attempt to hide his face during the heist. Turns out, the man had forged his resume and ID just to get hired and gain access to the store. But his carelessness caught up with him quickly. Authorities tracked him down in no time, and he was arrested, ending his ill-fated career as both an employee and a thief. In 2011, a 99-year-old Italian man named Antonio discovered love letters in an old chest belonging to his 96-year-old wife, Rosa. These letters revealed she had cheated on him over 60 years earlier in the 1940s, during the first decade of their 77-year marriage. Despite having shared a lifetime together, raising 5 children, 12 grandchildren, and a great-grandchild, Antonio felt deeply betrayed. Furious and heartbroken, he immediately filed for divorce, ending their marriage. Rosa admitted to the affair, but couldn't explain why she had kept the letters. Their split made them the oldest divorcees in history, proving that some wounds, even decades old, can still cut deep. In the late 1990s, high schooler Tim Freed began collecting venomous snakes, fascinated by their deadly nature. Realizing the danger, he decided to build immunity by injecting himself with increasing doses of their venom. With no guide to follow, Tim simply experimented. One day, while milking his Egyptian cobra, it bit his finger. Surprisingly, his self-immunization worked, and he survived. But an hour later, Tim was bitten again, this time by a monocled cobra. The second bite overloaded his system, and he nearly died. After 4 days in a coma, doctors managed to revive him. Despite this close call, Tim continues allowing the world's deadliest snakes to bite him, hoping to develop a universal anti-venom to save lives. A 35-year-old woman in China was recently arrested for scamming 4 different men by marrying them simultaneously. Initially married with a daughter, she began meeting new men while her husband worked long hours. Realizing her charm could be lucrative, she staged private marriage ceremonies, claiming she couldn't legally register them to remain eligible for housing compensation. Using hired actors to pose as friends and family, she convinced each man her story was genuine. Over the years, she juggled her time between 4 husbands, maintaining her elaborate scheme without suspicion. However, her plan unraveled when she told one man they had twins and demanded money but couldn't provide proof. Suspicious, the man called the police, and she was arrested. In total, she scammed nearly $100,000 from her victims. Last year in Thailand, a 54-year-old woman became trapped in her bathroom when the doorknob malfunctioned. With no phone and no way to contact anyone, she spent days trying to escape. As time passed, anxiety and claustrophobia took over. Living alone with no food or water, she realized her situation was dire. After 3 days of futile attempts to break free, she wrote a final message on her bathroom wall using skincare products, explaining what had happened and who should inherit her belongings. But just as she was losing hope, police arrived. Her sister had grown worried after not hearing from her and called for a welfare check. Officers kicked down the door, saving the woman just in time. She made a full recovery, but her terrifying ordeal was a reminder of how fragile life can be.